Hello everyone and welcome to the 60X Business Show. My name is Kitumaini and together with my guest we'll have different conversations about business, entrepreneurship and life. This is the show you've been waiting for. Stay tuned. In today's conversation, I have an amazing entrepreneur. He's the founder of Ballistic Burger, which is a mobile startup here in Rwanda that's a mobile fast food startup that's aimed to become the leading fast food on the continent. And in the studio, he's none other than Richard Russo. Richard, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Christian.
How are you today?
I'm great.
It's a pleasure to have you.
Happy to be here finally.
Wonderful. On the 60X, you'll be spinning the wheel and randomly we'll select a number and from there I'll ask you a question. Are you ready?
Sure.
Over to you whenever you're ready. What's your lucky number?
7.
Okay, let's hope you'll get 7 during the course of the show. But you start with 11. That's 11, right?
But somewhere in there.
Okay. Somewhere in. Spin again.
I need to
This is so fun.
All right. Could be a 7 this time.
Let's hope you just miss it.
Close.
But 8 is close to 7. Wonderful. Can you share with me who is Richard? Growing up, what are your dreams and passion? And how did you ended up being an entrepreneur?
All right. Richard Russo is a fan of art. Growing up, I found myself a lot interacting with creation, whether it's drawing, music. I loved the nature and a number of other things. So from the youngest age, I have vivid memories of me trying to imitate a drawing, paint, or imitate a singer, sing songs. And most of the things I do, I find myself really being around creating something or just something that I feel like it's giving life.
Yeah.
So whether it's food, carpentry, plants or planting flowers or anything, or drawing or designing, which is my profession, they all give me a feel that I'm creating something that eventually is going to be a tool that somebody out there will use. So it's something that I ended up harnessing over time and landed in the computer space.
Yeah.
My career led me to designing software, but then I never lost sight of the different other areas of passion like food and Ballistic Burgers that we're talking about today.
Wonderful. For some viewers, my guest is Richard, and he's the founder of Ballistic Burgers, which is a fast food startup here in Rwanda. They do have amazing burgers. And my follow-up question is, can you share with us, how did the idea of Ballistic Burgers came to life? Walk us through that journey.
So it's a funny journey because I always thought after my long tech career, maybe in my 50s or 60s, I'll retire as someone who'd be feeding people for fun. And nevertheless, I've always loved the kitchen, and I'm always in the kitchen to relax after work, creating food stuff for friends, inviting friends over for food. Now, when the pandemic happened, I happened to be home for quite some extended time. Started creating things and sharing with friends. That's when a friend reached out and was like, hey, can you share a burger? We're craving burgers, all the joints are closed, all the restaurants are closed. We can't find anything and we miss having these. And after sharing those goodies, eventually that was the genesis of Ballistic Burgers, because what I got in return wasn't a payment. rather than a review, and a big encouragement on starting something that could grow eventually into a business. So Ballistic Burgers, the next day was born because the friend told a friend, and the friend reached out and was willing to pay for the next piece of burger that we were creating. So we started in our home kitchen, delivering burgers to friends and friends' friends, and before we realized, we were sharing these goodies to the city and hopefully very soon across the country and the continent.
Wonderful. That's so amazing. And can you share with me, how does it feel to be an entrepreneur?
Honestly, entrepreneurship for me is an art of solving problems more than anything else. Our story is not one that's motivated by the bottom line primarily. It's about sharing moments around food. It's around being at the center of fun in a dining, or at the center of fun lunch during maybe your work break. So we are trying to approach it as problem solvers, and every entrepreneur always has a problem that they're trying to tackle. And it can come from a personal place of pain or from a peer's place of pain. Like for us, somebody was craving a burger and we were able to meet that need. And now, what more can you do? The idea here is how do we make it really accessible to somebody who's at work, busy, not able to access a restaurant, somebody who's at home and they don't feel like getting in the kitchen, or somebody who just don't have anything in their pantry and they need something real quick. So you realize that it's about solving problems, and if you're getting in and calling yourself an entrepreneur, it's always the question should be, what problem are you trying to solve? And if you have an answer, then you're on a path to becoming an entrepreneur.
Wonderful. Let's spin the wheel for another round of questions. You got number 8. What's going to be your next lucky number?
7. I'm calling for number 7.
You're calling for 7.
I feel like there's going to be a good question there. Okay, we're doubling 7. That's 14.
Is that between 14 and 1?
It's 1.
It's 1.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Richard got number 1. A lot of people are more health conscious these days, and sometimes they question fast foods, etc. How do you ensure the product you offer is healthy, and what makes your product different than other products out there in the market?
The burger was the starting point, and the idea with Ballistic Burgers is to reach a point where we really bring out the identity of the African culinary legacy per se, and we hope over time we will infuse in different things that we can turn into fast food experience for Africa, and that you won't find maybe with McDonald's or any other fast food chain that we've heard of that's really making it. So in terms of the health conscious, I would say the first thing that we had to take care of is really being creative and alert on what kind of produce are you using. Are these organic produce? But beyond that, how are you preparing? How are you doing the conservation? How are you doing the whole production to ensure that it's not toxic, it's not maybe something that will have any other repercussions on people's health. So with that, again, it's really a game of moderation with any consumer. Somebody who sells cigarettes will tell you, take this at your own risk, but that's not what I'm saying with burgers. I'm basically saying we make sure there's responsibility around how people are regulating or moderating, and we hope to add value by creating new items and give people alternative. Currently, we've played with veggies, for example, to create an experience for vegetarians. And over time, we're looking at ways we can really be alert of the trends around people's eating habits and kind of accommodate those and really be the leader that's driving the healthy eaters and still enabling people to eat what they enjoy eating.
Wonderful. I know in the food chain, keeping relationship with your customers is very, very important, especially when they have a lot of options to choose from. You personally, how do you ensure you keep that relationship with your customers? What are some of the values that the company have, dealing with clients, etc.?
Okay. We are primarily built actually around customers. If I could even go back to how the name came to be, we are big on really putting the customer at the forefront of what we're doing. Like I told you, our growth has been an organic one where it's primarily referral. You like the product, you like the experience, and you refer the business, and less of us really doing a lot of effort in pushing and telling people, hey, try this. So we want to make sure that our customers are happy because ultimately they are our first sales agents. So the key pillars of our business is creating an experience that really demystifies customer experience in general, whether it's from the journey that we've traced around how you order up until how your burger reaches your home, and everything in between, but also giving the voice to the customer a lot more. Most of our pages, you realize that there's more customer-driven content than what we are creating. So even the name, the way it came to be was after a long time without a name, people ordering from a random number, burgers from Richard. We were like, hey, this business needs a name. How do we go about this? We had a couple of names that we were thinking about, but ultimately we ended up saying, how do we send this back to the customers to decide which name we give this business? We started sending out questions to some of our customers, and Ballistic Burgers kind of stood out. Before that, normally when we would send the burger, we would ask for a feedback, and somebody would say, hey, these burgers were ballistic. So, and eventually it came back again during that poll, Ballistic Burgers, and we were like, hey, the customers have decided this is Ballistic Burgers. And we felt like it's a name that really embodied the kind of identity we wanted to send out, and the kind of audience that we were trying to reach. So everything we do is around demystifying customer experience, especially in Rwanda, where many people think that we are not very good at it, but we want to learn to do it better, and also change the narrative around how people perceive and feel taken care of by the different service providers.
Wonderful. That's so amazing. And my follow-up question, I'd like to understand, how would you define success?
Wow. For me, ultimately, success is where I find fulfillment in life. You know that we deal with a lot, and ultimately, there are some things that we're chasing. It could be money, it could be, you name it, tangible and intangibles. But what ultimately, when you go back home in your bedroom, that you look back to and feel happy, feel like your heart is light and warm. Sometimes even just going home and or when I wake up in the morning and seeing people coming to do the job, because right now I've literally handed over most of the operations to a team that's running this. Seeing that these people are actually your responsibility and you're contributing to their welfare, for example, is a sense of fulfillment, and for me that is success. The benchmark now is what differs from an individual to another. But I believe that whatever makes your heart light and gives you peace and joy is what should be success ultimately.
Wonderful.
Because we've realized that money or any other thing, fame, sometimes don't necessarily cut it.
Yeah, it's all about most of the things that you talked about there, and you pinpoint about the team, because at the end of the day, as an entrepreneur, you lead a team, and when all the team members, you thrive and you work together toward achieving the company goals. As an entrepreneur, you reach a certain level of success. And talking about team, how big is your team, and what do you usually look at when you wanna maybe bring someone on board? Are there certain things about the culture that you always look at, or personality, or they need to be good in cooking? Share with us some of the things you look at.
Yes. So the nature of our business, it's manual work. So these are transferable skills in most cases. And for me, because my journey as an individual was different people taking a leap of faith in the potential and not necessarily in something that I already had as a finished product. I found myself taking the same approach in most cases. I'm not looking for a finished product. I'm not looking for someone who's highly skilled or talented in their craft, but somebody you can enable to unleash their own potential and thrive in their element, as long as you give them a platform to do so. So I'm looking at things like passion, drive, and a bunch of soft skills and character, more than anything else. So I would say that most of the people we ended up hiring at Ballistic Burgers are not necessarily people who even had any idea of what to do in the first place, because we were still figuring out a lot of things, but they ended up being the best and the most excellent people in their space. We currently have a team of 10 people, so it's a mix of chefs and ops and delivery agents. But they're all amazing people, and they bring the joy in the space. So that's the whole aspect of attitude and character. It's a joy entering in a Ballistic Burgers kitchen, the joy in how they're producing the burger and sending it to you. So whoever is eating a Ballistic Burger, just know that the people doing it in the back, they're always doing it in the most joyful way, and playing some nice music, cracking jokes, and just making it really a homely and family kind of feel, but still a very productive environment where people are growing and have great ambitions for big things.
Wonderful. I like the vibe and the culture where anyone can just feel at ease, and then you enjoy what you're doing. Let's spin the wheel for another round of questions.
All right. Looks like I'm not gonna get a 7 at all, but
that's
it's 11.
Wonderful. Can you share, your goal is to become a leading fast food chain on the continent. Can you share with us how are you preparing yourself to achieve that stage?
The food space has quite a lot of connecting pieces. We chose a niche in the mobile fast food. So many people ask, are you going to open up a restaurant? Are you going to open up a physical space? We've been refraining from that, and this is just a way we want to position ourselves. We want to tap into the mobile space and create different mobile experiences that people could enjoy. So the grassroots is really nailing the operation. As you can imagine, it's called fast food for a reason. Our current promise is 40 to 60 minutes from the time a customer has ordered, but it's it's something that we are able to achieve to a good extent,
Yeah.
but I know that we haven't managed to convince many of the customers, and the goal is to try and reduce that as much as possible. And what that means is you really have to reach a point where you've optimized your operations to be really, really efficient and reduce the time considerably to reach a customer. Literally, if I want my burger in 15, 30 minutes, you've done it and you've figured out a way. So we are focused on really nailing the operations, and operations is not just production, it's how you're sourcing, what kind of partnerships you've built around the different people who are supplying you, to really ensure that it's a whole chain that's working in sync, delivering quality in a record time, and then the price being another competitive advantage. We want to be really, really creative in the kind of items we will be introducing. So we've been very slow in releasing new items. We've also tried to keep our menu very lean and small, not to confuse people with so many things, but also not to disrupt our production a lot. Once we have the confidence in the process itself, we believe that now replicating that will be much easier. So that's really the groundwork being done, but now the goal is where do we expand next? We are trying to leverage most of the insights that we're getting from the market right now to kind of really position ourselves even stronger. So Rwanda being the first mile, and hopefully the region soon. The goal is hopefully within the next 5 years to be in a couple of countries on the continent, but starting with really laying the right foundations to be an efficient fast food chain.
Wonderful. And good luck with that.
Thanks a lot.
I know you guys can achieve that vision. Can you share with me what are the challenges when it comes to consumer mindsets about fast food and deliveries, and how are you approaching maybe changing that mindset shift?
The consumer wants it now, so that's one. We are fortunate to be on a continent where there's been a lot of leapfrogging with technology. So Africa, I feel like we are really, really privileged in many ways, because the penetration just enabled us to see things in a different way. But when you look at e-commerce or most of the mobile experiences elsewhere, I talk to friends who live abroad, and they will tell you at some point during the lockdown we would wait for our groceries for 7 days. You have no chance here. Nobody would wait for 7 days for their groceries. They'll rather just drive the kiosk next door. So for us, the challenges and the biggest threat are, we are a small country that's you have access to anything you want in no time. So you're competing against that. And changing that mindset where you're telling somebody, hey, if you order from us, we're going to be fast, when they know that if they walk out, they'll see a restaurant or a joint that's going to serve them, is some convincing that you have to do. So really what we are doing, like I said before, is how do you create an experience that's convincing enough that the customer feels like there's a lot more value in going with you rather than anything else that they're looking at. So driving this technology wave and delivery in general means you're really, really alert on the small things and ensuring that you're meeting the promises constantly and you're consistent at what you're doing, so that people know you for what you say, and not just, hey, I can do this, and then eventually you keep disappointing. You're not improving when they give you feedback. So it comes back to, do you really care? So once you've done that, you start getting into convincing slowly. But the adoption is fortunately there because of the pandemic, people feel more confident. Yeah, people feel more confident with ordering online and doing different things online. Now we need to capitalize by being really true to how we serve them.
Wonderful.
Mm.
And you started your business during the pandemic. Do you have a moment when you feel like, oh, this is too much, I really want to give up? And also, was the pandemic an opportunity for you to thrive? Because people needed food and you were there to deliver at their doorstep.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. I mean, even the encounter that I had with those first customers, what I had said, because it wasn't an aha moment right away that this was becoming a business. It was mostly an experiment, and I was like, oh, let's give this 2 weeks, let's give this a month. Once the hype is over, I'll move on with my life and go on. And a month down the road, you realize the traffic starts slowing down, but it's simply because you're stuck somewhere. So at that point, we started asking ourselves, hey, do we continue, or maybe this is a cue? But you realize you now have to push further. You are just operating with your friends, but now what do you need? Is it a brand? Is it maybe think through the whole strategy before you expand? So the moment of doubt was primarily maybe a month or 2 months in the business where you've really exhausted all the initial ideas that you had, and now that you had to really sit and plan strategically. So it's just a cue, knowing is this now the time for me to think strategically, or is this a confirmation that I shouldn't pursue this? And for us, it was clear that it was time to actually move to the next level and push even more, because we felt like we were on to something.
Interesting. And let me wrap up this conversation with my last question. What are like top 3 learnings that you've acquired in this journey that you had no clue about when you started?
Top 3.
Yeah, like top 3 learnings that you've learned during the journey that before when you started you had
The first one is the service industry is not easy. It's not easy. You can do everything right for the whole day, but if you mess up one thing at the end of the day, your night is gonna be a mess. So, but embrace that and learn from it, and move on. Because in the beginning we were really bending ourselves back and forth to try and get it right, but you realize you'll mess up, but learn from it and grow from it. The second for me is I've been in a startup environment before. Just appreciate the organic path of growth and take it in. If possible, even document. But just embrace the fact that this is gonna be a step-by-step growth, and you'll eventually get there with a bit of perseverance. The third, get your operations right from the get-go. Some of the things I'm not necessarily a fan of is the admin side. It's bookkeeping, taxes, and everything. But we realized we had to lay the foundations from the get-go so that it doesn't get overwhelming somewhere in the middle. So fortunately, bringing people and people who were already experts of the matter kind of helped a lot, and eventually we are where we are right now because we allowed ourselves to really lay those right foundations.
Wonderful. And yes, some of my key takeaways on what you said, it's very important to lay the foundation because it's very critical, and it also takes time to build a company. You need to be patient, and you need to trust the process and be patient with yourself. Rome was not built in one day. Thanks a lot, Richard, for making to the show.
Thank you.
I really enjoyed the conversation.
Wow, thanks a lot.
Wonderful. The conversation continue on social media using the hashtag 60xbusiness. Till next time, be safe, wash your hands, and wear your mask. My name is Kitumaini, and you're watching KC2.